Hello. Hi, Jeff.
How you guys doing?
Good, good. How
Hey,
are you?
Jeff.
I am good, thank you.
Yeah,
Great,
nice to meet
great.
you. Thank you
Thanks for
that
joining
you
us
joined
today.
to us. Yeah.
Yep. Well, uh, here's Dmitry, my co-founder, and myself, Alex. So today we have like 30 minutes, right? Or how much?
Yep.
All right, cool. So let me just say a few words who we are and why we asked to join to the call today. So
That would be super helpful.
thanks a lot. Well, we are trying to explore, trying to discover U.S. market in order to find an opportunity to enter embedded fintech with our product called Flash. So we are trying to investigate if there is a problem space in B2B finance. We used to do similar products, similar projects in Africa and Europe. Actually, I used to work in e-commerce in B2C side as e-commerce head also as you are. So we are kind of colleagues a bit. So you are much
Yeah.
broader in B2B, myself in B2C. And now we're again trying to understand how B2B works actually, and either any problem space and specific kind of use cases, so that
Yep.
we can offer something in there. So we try to find opportunities to talk to people who are in the industry, either supplier or manufacturer or
In
marketplace.
the middle.
Yep,
Yeah.
in the middle.
Yeah.
And you are like super target segment as head of e-commerce for industrial marketplace node, which is huge, which is super like uh, kind of touching a lot of suppliers, a lot of
hmm
customers who are as seems to be like really big industrial customers. Uh, to be honest, have no idea how the industry works. So the first question is, could you please tell a few words who customers are, who suppliers are, and what the role of the node in this process?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great place to start, Alex. So Node, well, yeah, the most public view of Node is our marketplace. We've got a few different software elements, and so we provide some product information management, some a bespoke like a portal and then there's the marketplace, which everybody's out there. Commerce is part of that, and something we're going to develop over time. It's not huge today, relative to the industry, I can only really talk about the chemical industry because that's where I've spent my entire career. But globally, it's like a $5 trillion. It's everything. So it's huge. And when I start to think about finance in the industry and how it operates, and I'm more of the commercial side, more of the like how does money trade hands? It's almost all done on net terms. So very little now. I'm going to speak domestically, right? So I don't know as much about cross-border transactions. I think
Yep.
there's lines of credit. They'll sit in escrow and things like that. Not familiar with that.
Yep.
But in terms of like just how it's transacted, it's almost always net terms. And if I were thinking of some of the pain points in this industry, it's very large transactions. So the risk is relatively high. Defaults are low, right? So customers that default against net terms, that's very low. But when they do, it can add up very quickly to a large amount of money. So suppliers are really risk averse. I know some of our customers, which are suppliers, to set up a new customer can take them 3 months. Because they've got a very long list of they're going to crawl around inside the all the cavities and check everything out. I mean, you think going to a proctologist is painful. Just try to set up an account with one of these guys. It takes them forever, because they know that once they start selling them, they're going to put them on terms. They're going to have working capital is a big deal. So and they're going to have an outlay of cash. They're going to have to wait for it to come back, and they've got to be sure that that does inevitably come back. It almost always does, but and so managing payment terms and managing things like that are something that's what suppliers in this industry spend a lot of time on.
I see. And well, if we talk about like B2C market, there is like Klarna who operates buy now, pay later, which is actually
Hmm.
originally came from B2B, which is actually installments, right? So you don't like spend $100 right now. You spend like 5 times $200, to,
20.
like yeah, 20
Yep.
bucks each payment. So you split, and in original buy now pay later, the buyer pays the interest, uh, or in some cases the seller pays the interest. So the question is either anything close to this. I mean, when buyer uh, offers when seller offers some kind of installment mechanics, either anything in this space which solves cash flow problem.
It probably goes the inverse. So installments I've never seen. Suppliers are capital intensive companies, right? So if I'm a chemical producer, I've got lots of assets and plants, and I've got a really large capital investment. And so they work really hard to maintain their working capital, right? So they put people on terms, and the large ones will enforce those rigidly. If somebody goes 31 days on net 30 terms, they're on credit hold.
Yep.
I do see suppliers sometimes using discounted terms. So let's say I give you 30 days and I'm going to discount you 2% if you pay me in 10. So I'll give you a little bit of a break on that invoice if you pay me faster, because there's value for me getting that cash quicker. It helps lower my working capital, right? And I see that as not everybody does that, but some do. The normal tension is, customers, the end users have cash flow concerns too. They're capital intensive, so they will delay payment as long as they can. The supplier will push them, and there's this whole game of, that gets played around. Yeah, I have net 30 terms, but I'm going to pay you in 45, or I'm going to pay you in 60. And the supplier invests a lot of time and resources in chasing all those and trying to track them down. They have large, accounts receivable teams, credit teams that manage all that.
I
So
see.
the
I
big
see.
thing for suppliers is setup, and then it's collections, right? And spending a lot of time on that and trying to manage your customer base.
All right. So the seller decides. I mean, um, the one who pays decides, right? This is like seller market.
Yeah, one who
I
one
mean,
who collects. The seller really sets the term. Some buyers, if you're big enough, I used to years ago every year get a letter from General Motors saying, "Oh, we're going to start paying in 90 days," and we say, "No, you're not," right? So that there are some buyers that have enough weight that can negotiate longer terms. If I'm a big enough buyer of my chemistry, if that's valuable to me, I'm going to use that as part of my pricing negotiation. I may give
I
a little
see.
bit on price in order to get extended terms.
And average terms is 30 days, right? I mean,
That's
how much
that's
it
the norm in the U.S.
in the US? All
Longer in
right.
Europe. Yeah.
All right. Either anything in anything concern like financial like loans, installments, or whatever, when which helps to decide this cash flow problem, let's say, uh, how to define. I mean, is like sorry, I just try to like formulate
Formulate.
my question. Yep. What I'm trying to say is either any financial institution involved in this selling and buying process in typical deal, or it's just like terms and
Yep.
invoice to pay, and that's it.
That's it.
All
Yep.
right. All right.
Yep. There's never now if you're crossing borders and you're doing export shipments, you're probably going to have somebody in the middle. But in domestic and normal course of what I consider normal course of business, no.
Yep. If we put aside
Which is
aside
why
this,
it
mhm,
takes so long for somebody to set up a customer, right?
I see. Mhm. Let me switch to the payment process itself. I mean, to discover how actually people pay. I mean, how companies pay. Is it ACH as a payment method? Is it wire transfer? Anything else? Maybe PayPal? I don't know. So could you please give a picture how
Yeah,
it actually works?
I think that the norm today is ACH or wire transfer. That's the most common.
Like
Some
50/50?
companies still, yeah, I don't, you know, that I don't know. I don't spend any
All
time
right, I see.
on the AR side. So, but some customers still prefer to cut checks. I mean, there's still a significant percentage that actual you get a check in a lockbox and have to cash it.
Uh, is it actually a problem
Some
for
of that's
any?
because
Yeah. All right. Gotcha. Well, if we talk about like payment payment process flow, uh, in Node, do you have a transaction itself which happens on the checkout of Node? I mean, I
yeah, we do.
entered
We do.
you. All right. And is payment part of the process kind of something that influences conversion or average order value, or it's just like commodity? You just have one, it's standard, there is no pain point here, and you just have it.
Um, there's some, there are some elements there. So one, there is a small segment in this industry. So ranges across a lot, right? There's a lot of smaller customers that might use a credit card, so we'll accept Stripe. It's not a very significant percentage, but it's a value add for the smaller segment. Outside of that, a lot of times it just passes through to the supplier on their own. You know, they have an account set up, and then we got to process. You know, we can support customers that need net terms but don't have an account set up with the supplier, and that's kind of rare. So,
I
you
see.
know, there's really three methods that are sort of almost predefined in a lot of ways.
I see. I see. Uh, let's maybe switch to the buyer side, to the customer side. And could you please describe how the procurement process of typical client looks like? I mean, it's like, who is the decision maker? How many people there who makes a decision on buying some supply, and how it looks like?
It
Maybe.
can, in this industry, and there's two primary flows there. One is, you know, maybe I'm Coca-Cola and I'm trying to come up with a new beverage to put on the market. So it might start in research and development, or product development, and it might even start with marketing, saying, "Hey, we need a new orange drink. That's the hot thing." Goes to product development. They spend time with suppliers trying to figure it out. Once they land on the formula and the ingredients they need, that goes to procurement, who then starts to look for preferred vendors. Or if we found an ingredient at a vendor we don't normally do business with, they're going to then go get that set up. So they'll say, "Hey, we need to," you know, they're going to negotiate a price in terms and get the account set up. And then from there, it actually kind of, once it's set, it just flows, right? In chemicals are consumables, so they're like milk and eggs. You know, I use them up, I go get more. So it doesn't really, you know, pricing might vary from period to period depending on the type of product, but that's understood and that's normal. And these prices might fluctuate, but once I'm using it, I need to keep using it, right? I'm making a soda and I need to sell it, and then I need to make more.
I see. I see. And they can negotiate the prices inside the platform, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
All right. And who is the end user of your platform from customer side? Who is the guy? Is it buyer or some procurement guy?
Yeah, our customers are the suppliers. So on the marketplace, that's where we would
All
monetize.
right.
That's where we do our selling, right? The bulk of the users are buyers, are the end users of the ingredients, and you know, and probably largely R&D, because that's, I mean, our commerce is important, but much more important in this market space is for us to be able to organize the world of chemistry and make it very easily findable, searchable, filterable, which is what we've done. And so commerce is almost, in today's world, it'll change over time, but it's almost secondary to making sure that, you know, the users can easily find what they need, and then interact and engage. So not only can I find it, but oftentimes, you know, if I'm Coca-Cola and I'm building a new product, I need to get a sample, right? I need to test this. I can't just go buy it off the shelf and assume it's going to work. I might have to, you know, do a ton of testing. And so that's, you know, there's a lot of back. It can take a year for Coke to build that product.
I see. I see.
and a lot of engagement happens along the way.
Yeah. So we, as you know, tech startup, let's say in embedded finance, how we usually work, we kind of assume that there is a problem space and try to analyze and either confirm or find out that there is no any problem space. So uh, we like believe that B2B transactions should be like customer-like experience, which is like online, real time, etc. In reality, it seems that uh, there is no like kind of demand those transactions to be either online, real time, or free. I mean, it seems that it works how it works, and nobody like no one thinks that there is a problem there, or we just ask wrong questions to recognize the problem. You are, as you know, super experienced e-commerce head. Can you say that there is no problem for you as a process holder?
Um, Not so much for us, but if I were looking for problems in the industry where once a customer is set up and I've established, terms and I've established history, it tends to flow. I recognize as a supplier that I'm assuming some level of risk. I've got to set aside some bad debt. But I go through this really onerous process of vetting my customer before I sell to them. There's a lot of friction in that, and so it makes it very hard for suppliers to pick up new customers.
I see.
And especially if they're a relatively low volume. Maybe this is not Coca-Cola, maybe it's some up and coming. They've got this hot new brand. They could be big. Snapple of 20 years ago or whatever. Coca-Cola is going to buy them eventually. Do I want to sell to them? Right? They don't buy a lot, and the risk of default is my perception is just really high, and so I don't. And I send that to. There's a whole other arm of this industry for chemical distribution where I would send that, but that's a different beast. So the friction a lot of times is that speed of decision. It's a terrible customer experience. I want to buy from somebody, and it's going to take me 90 days, 30 days just to get an okay. And then I might not get the okay, and I've got to figure something else out. Pay cash in advance.
Yep, I see. Well, so the benefit in this case on supplier side, right? No, on the buyer side. I mean, if we make the process better, but the one who decides whether to put it to the checkout of marketplace or B2B commerce site is actually the guy who managed the process. Head of e-commerce, head of digital, or someone who is in charge of, top line, conversions, average order value, etc. So our assumption was that, let's say, if we bring super fast, super cheap, let's say some payment gate or payment widget or whatever, with the, I don't know, buy now, pay later or inbuilt installment, it will probably increase some metrics like average order value, whatever, conversion rates. In reality, I don't know, like if it's something that like really
It
has something.
Average order value, I don't know, because that tends to be, I mean, it's, I only need what I need, right? I mean, I'm making a physical good out of this, and buying more, unless there's some economic value in me holding inventory as a buyer, and I get a price break for that, and I'm willing to do it. That's possible, but other than that, I mean, I'm still only going to consume it at the rate that I can sell it. So that conversion, maybe, if there is lower friction in terms of being able to purchase, right? So I don't have to. I can move more quickly. It's a better customer experience. I could see that. Suppliers that are more nimble in terms of and more flexible in terms of taking on new customers may have a slight advantage.
I see.
It's in the setup process, right? So once it's set up, it tends to flow, and it's labor intensive. The value in the suppliers if we can reduce their effort, reduce their labor, their cost to manage collect accounts receivable.
I see. What the average order value for your typical customer?
God, I think it's like 10 grand, something like that.
Is it
And
sensitive?
and we're probably on the small side, compared to say the industry. I don't know what it would be across the broad industry, but it's pretty high.
Yeah, quite high. I mean, it might be like sensitive for the cash flow, isn't it? I mean, for procurement side.
Yes.
If we assume that, the guy who in charge of who's in charge of cash flow has like two options, either to pay 10 grants or just split it to like 5 payments, 2 grants each. And if it's free, would it be? I mean, it's a theoretical question, of course, and it's not the right way to ask those problem discovery questions. But still, I just trying to, mm,
It it I don't know. I don't know that anybody's ever
yep,
tried it. If the question is, so both sides want to hold on to their money as long as they can, right? Well, the supplier wants to collect as fast as they can because
yep.
that minimizes their capital. But the buyer has the same problem in the inverse, right? They want to hold on to that cash as long as they can so that they can make something and start, getting cash in return and then paying the supplier. So if, and I don't know, there's any magic. I've never thought about this much, any magic in the world, but if you can find a way to pay the suppliers faster and let the buyers drag out payments a little bit, there might be value there.
Well, yeah, I mean, seeing that there is no magic in the world, so the whole magic we're trying to, investigate if there is like an option to get like payment 100% instantly, but not 100% of money. Let's say
Yeah.
96% of money, but instantly, or 100% but 30-day terms. That's the all magic in buy now pay later thing. So somebody should pay for holding the money. So it's
Yeah.
kind of more
Yep.
cash flow thing. All right, I see. Seems that there is something I forgot to ask. So, Dmitry, maybe you have
Yeah,
anything to clarify.
Jeff, can you say please how the cash flow look like now? I mean, how the schemes look like when the buyer to pay to the seller? Do you keep this process? The cash flow is going through your platform, or buyer to pay sellers directly?
Yeah, we both, Dimitri. So we do
Both.
both. We will manage the credit on behalf of the supplier in certain cases. In other cases, it just flows through on existing accounts. And then there's a third, which is we can, for a small segment, take a credit card for payment, so get paid up front.
What's the proportion between the credit card and another payment method?
Credit card might be like 10%.
Mostly
that might be
through wire transfer
yeah.
and ACH.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think? What is main disadvantages of this current payment method? What would you like to improve? What place would you like to improve? Are there any disadvantages? Any pain?
I'd have to think about that, and actually, I probably would want to talk to our finance guys about that. So my role is more of the commercial side. I understand this because I've been doing it a long time, but pain points, it's de-risking. A lot of it's de-risking. It's making sure that we have. I mean, there is no way to guarantee anything in this type of space, right? If I offer somebody terms, I'm taking a leap of faith that they're going to pay me in the time frame that we agreed on. And so that puts a lot of friction in the process, and how do you quickly make a decision and or is there a guarantee behind it, right? I mean, that might be something you'd be willing to pay for. Is it insured? Those outstanding balances.
Well, actually,
Okay.
that's super interesting. I mean, you mentioned that some customers don't pay in time, right? I mean, there is kind of
Most don't pay in time.
most of them don't pay in time. So they agreed on like 30-day terms, and for some reason they don't pay in time.
Yeah.
And what the cause of this for the customers, for the one who
Well,
sells?
that's some of the friction, right? So the sellers, the only thing they have at that point is to put customers on credit hold.
See,
So if you said you pay me in 30 days, it's now 31 or 35. If you get another order, if I get another order from you, I'm not going to process it. But the buyers want to, like I've said earlier, they want to hold on to their cash. So it's like, fine, I'm not planning on placing an order, so I'm going to stretch payments a little bit. And there's all kinds of games that get played,
I
right?
see.
And then they pay in 45 days because they need to place an order.
Isn't it the part of a contract which actually leads to some penalties, or it's not? It's flexible.
It can. I mean, it really. Yes, there are oftentimes contracts that we're going to charge you a financing fee. Some do, but then there's the fact that, well, this customer buys, $10 million a year from me, and I'm going to allow them a little wiggle room because I don't want to make them mad and lose them, right, to my
I see.
competitor. So there's a little leverage on both sides.
But Note doesn't guarantee anything in this term, and doesn't take responsibility for paying in time, right? I mean, all these financials go like directly between.
We do. That's part of
Right.
our value proposition is making sure that we when we take on the receivable, we'll pay the supplier in a fixed amount of time and do it religiously, so we don't drag it out, and then we will be responsible for the credit and collections on the customer's end.
How you can leverage to the customer, how you can influence for them to pay in time, either in like lever you can push.
The same thing. Main thing is, do they have a need for another order?
I see.
And there's a lot of lock-in in this industry, right? So in chemicals, and I don't know about other B2B spaces, but I can't always easily just go from supplier to suppliers. Some things you can, but there's a lot of products out there that I would have to go back to my laboratory and test it, and we'd have to qualify it before I could substitute it. So can they do that? Yes. But if I need it and I need to produce, and they won't ship to me because I owe them money, right? They pay.
Yeah. Sounds that they like really tied
That's
up
the
and
biggest
codependent. Yep. Sounds like they're
exactly.
just like tied up together.
So in that sense, it's a little self-policing. Yeah.
I see. So that's probably the thing of the market. I mean, the very, very specific for this industrial market where you have like few suppliers and a few customers for that specific product. I see. So we have like a couple of minutes left. Maybe Dmitry, you have to ask anything.
Yeah, Jeff, can you say, please, how do you manage invoices? I mean, when buyers want to pay to the sellers, does your platform to give an invoice to the buyers? And how do you manage this a lot of invoices? Do you have any solution? Maybe do you have inbuilt in your platform the solution which helps to manage a lot of invoices?
We haven't automated that.
Yeah, you need to
in
watch
the platform
for each invoices, which invoices is paid, which invoice is not paid, and to make any further actions. I know this large job.
Yeah. So we have a small credit and collections team. We manage the invoices through NetSuite. So when we issue an invoice, it's out of NetSuite, and that has all the typical AR functions, aging and all that type of stuff.
So Node built on NetSuite, right? I mean, on the platform.
We use NetSuite for Node, and we co-opted parts of it to support commerce.
I see.
So it's not built on NetSuite at all.
All right.
Yeah, we built it. It's separate, but we do have connections.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. It's super customized and super like doesn't look like typical marketplace. Super in the customized for the industry. And
Yep,
actually,
it totally is. Totally is. I mean, we're all from the industry. Our founders, I worked with them for years. I'm actually worked for me for years. So we all come from the same place.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it's super sophisticated and robust for the industry. Well, I'm done. I mean, Dmitry, if you have anything to ask,
No. So
please.
thank you, Jeff.
Otherwise,
You
yeah,
answered a lot of
So,
questions.
question for you guys. So, where are you in terms of funding? I mean, how? I've looked typically at your website, but where are you in your life cycle? Looks like just getting started was be my guess. But
absolutely. He got us.
yeah.
I mean, well, Dmitry already like did excellent job. I mean, he exited one similar product in the Africa market, and we are kind
Mhm.
of challengers. We try to enter the huge, beautiful U.S. market and exploring and just trying to um, try to find contacts on the market, industry
Yep.
experts who would probably point out at some problem space or just say don't waste our time and don't waste your time for this for this problem or like market. Uh, right now we are on it's called like a problem discovery stage where we try to figure out if there is anything we can do with this and bring some value, some additional
Yep.
value. After that, we can build anything. I mean, any product in embedded finance. We have like great uh, team of developers and project managers. So we are techie guys who just exploring the problem space in embedded fintech and B2B e-commerce. And
Cool.
after that, we are gonna go to venture market with some prototype or whatever with approved idea. But right now we're not there yet. I mean, we're trying to like explore and discover the problem. We are talking to marketplaces, suppliers and manufacturers, second segment, and some specific like procurement software, which has this money flow between
Yep.
two
Yep.
parts of businesses. Yeah, so seeing that in industrial marketplaces are huge, sophisticated thing, probably not as easy as we thought. I mean,
As usual,
uh,
as usual.
yeah,
Jeff,
Yeah.
actually, we are trying to find the biggest pain point in the B2B marketplaces because, and for that, we will be able to target on this place and to solve this problem. We are trying to create something valuable for exactly existing problems.
Yeah.
Because we know that some similar project like maybe I have heard about Get Balance, Slope, try to help B2B marketplaces to increase their conversion rate, providing installments like a Stripe widget, which implemented on the site, and some buyers can to come to this site to click on some goods and to buy immediately in installments. We are trying to understand are there problems which solve this product like Stripe or B2B installments? Yeah, and
Yep.
maybe do you have any thoughts about problems which you face to every day or maybe every month, and which you can to discover which you discovered before in your space? Maybe it will help us to understand where to focus on.
Yep. Yep. The one thing I would say with the difference in B2B and B2C is that, and this is kind of obvious, but not always. Excuse me.
Bless
Sorry.
you.
It's allergy season. Is there are relatively few transactions in B2B, right? I mean, that sounds obvious, but they're very large value, at least in the chemical space. And I can't speak to everything. Some would be different, but so very few transactions, which makes it manageable for companies to deploy humans and have more processes with exceptions and where you can put eyes on it, because it's not this vast, it's not Amazon where, no, I have to automate everything. And if it's not automated, it's not working, which means that it can be somewhat bespoke. I mean, people can, now I can afford to put human, but it's also costly. And in any one of those transactions fails, because they're large, can be really painful to my bottom line. So it's a little bit of can I minimize labor in terms of the management of payment, and a lot of can I de-risk. In my opinion, there's a lot of emphasis put on risk.
What do you mean by risk? I mean, the risk of failing in processing, or
risk of defaulting customers, right? So I spend so much energy on taking on a new customer because I'm afraid I need to know who they are and that I need to know that they're going to pay me. Because I'm going to take every time I send a product out the door, I'm taking a risk, right? I mean, I don't have money for it yet. And I have very few guarantees that I'll get it, so I make a business decision to say, yeah, I think that risk is worth the reward, but there's still some risk associated to it.
I see.
That's net terms. Yeah.
That's all about it. All right. Have to figure out how to deal with this.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
All right. I got to run, guys.
Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts, and really appreciate for spending
my pleasure.
your time.
Good luck. Let me know how I can help.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, they will be
Thanks a lot.
updated to you about status about our progress.
Cool. Alex, Dimitri, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.